What's up? It's your boy, the Batman, THA and not THE. And today I'm going to be going over the Madden NFL 22 All Access Scouting video. Clap, clap. I ain't going to take too much time on it. I'm going to let it play, and I'm going to, talk about it afterwards. Let's get right into it.
Tell us what we can expect with the revamp of scouting.
All right, so
that deep sigh really makes me excited because I know that means there's a lot.
You've been waiting for this for years,
so
right?
excited.
I've been waiting a long time for this. So, scouting as a whole is being revamped. Obviously, you'll still be able to scout players, but the way that we go about it is entirely different. We're moving away from the scouting point system, where you have a bucket of points each week and then you spend it on players. This is more making key decisions throughout the season that progress every single player on your board at different points.
So, question real quick. If they're getting away from the scouting points, does that mean they're going to get away from these stupid XP points?
So you start things off essentially by getting a baseline scouting on every player in your class. This guy runs fast. He can move well. He's strong. And then
you sound like Mel Kiper right now. He's got quiet hands.
One of the big goals I had was I wanted to add complexity to the feature, but I wanted to remove some of the tediousness of it. So you don't have to go in every single week and feel like you're missing something if you don't. But there are key decision points that you're going to want to interact with because that'll shape how your board basically evaluates itself over the course of a season. So you'll be able to pick a position per each of your now 4 area scouts and a national scout. Rather than just being a scouting department, you have individual scouts with strengths and weaknesses.
So I might have a guy who specializes in scouting quarterbacks.
Yeah, and you're going to send them out, the area scouts, to one of 4 regions on the map. Some regions have more schools than others, so we kind of cut them off a little bit at the pass, so each region has its merit to send a quality scout. And you'll be able to assign your scouts at the start of each season based on a preliminary big board. And the big board is changing in itself. It's no longer just, here's all the players ranked. We're treating it more as a media big board. So a player has a few really good games in a row, right? And you see a news blurb pop up that this player just, he's been dominant. You're going to see that he's going to move up the draft board. So the AI itself is going to draft players based on the changes in perception and evaluation of the players, instead of it being that, you find this guy in the 5th round and he's the best player in the class and he just sits there. That's not going to happen anymore. It's really going to be a lot more that if you find that player and you really key in on them at different scouting events, you'll be able to gather a large amount of information, but it comes at a cost. And the cost is awareness for the media. So you send your national scout, and we call it focus scouting. This is one of the biggest milestones in terms of report completion that you're going to get. And when you do that, the media is going to be aware that you are attending this player's game. So if it's a 6th round player and you're sending your national scout, the guy who you want the best report from, to a 6th round player's game for that guy, they're going to be like, whoa, this guy
so
might be
I can't have
something.
any secrets is what you're saying. I can't secretly scout anyone.
You can scout in secret, but you might have to sacrifice a little bit of information, right?
So if I'm trying to get that full completion, that's basically me sending my national scout in the front row and everyone knows that I'm sitting there to scout this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll have private workouts that you'll be able to do. Same premise, where you'll have a few players that you can bring in for those private workouts. And that'll give you a big boost in the report completion. But there's additional layers.
Now, my thing about this is, excuse me. So, the only way we're going to get a detailed description of players is if we send our best scout to that player. And so, by us sending our best scout, that means the media follows and everyone knows we're going to know we're scouting. I get it in a sense. I get that. But how much information comes with that, though? Like, will it be an ongoing process, or will we know everything about that player at once? And with the other scouts, like, how much information will we get from them? Like, will be enough for us to be like, okay, we go ahead and get him, or is it gonna keep us on the fence? You know, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Because, 2K's scouting system is phenomenal. Like, phenomenal.
Here's to it. So that big board ebbs and flows, and there'll be mock drafts. Well, right now we have it scheduled for 5 mock drafts over the course of the season. So as draft position changes, so does this. So if you need to make a decision on, oh man, I'm not going to be able to get to pick 16, and they're looking at this player and this position, I might have to jump them, or I have to change my plans on who I'm looking at. So the entirety is more information.
My first thought with this was, in a multi-user league, is it possible for somebody to throw somebody off their scent, to sit there and go like, I know, like, for example, if I'm the Dolphins and I sort of know where I'm going to be, and I know the Bengals are right behind me and they're going to be drafting, and I know that they're going to be, wanting to jump me if I'm looking for a quarterback, can I start scouting offensive linemen to try to throw them off that, you don't need to jump me, you're fine, stay there?
Theoretically, yes.
Thank you. I'm looking to be a real jerk in my league, so I appreciate that.
That's one of those things that we talked about earlier, building it in a way that people who want to go that layer deeper, be it multiplayer leagues or whatever, that there's that deeper design there. That's a good, solid approach, I think. So,
absolutely, and we talked with former NFL personnel, former scouts, media members who do scouting, all sorts of different groups of people about the scouting process. And the one thing that always comes back to me is the aggregation of information is the hardest part of scouting, because you can understand every single layer of a player's skill set, but if you don't piece it together properly to make that full picture, it doesn't matter. And that's where a lot of people get tripped up. You can see this guy's fast, or this guy has a big arm, but if you don't understand that, well, yeah, he has that big arm and he can throw deep, but because he doesn't have the mental processing or the awareness for our game's sake, then he's not going to be that guy that you would expect, or that he was in college. So aggregation is not going to be exact. You might not find their exact true talent range, and it's a range this year. Instead of saying this guy's a first-round pick, it'll be round 1 to round 2, or top 5. Those blue chip players, those are clear cut. And as you get later in the draft, that range is wider. So we want to give you as much information as possible.
So when he says range, does that mean we won't be able to scout these guys to the off season? Or we'll be able to keep track of them through the season? Because you saw the completion rate, that makes me think we can't start scouting players till the season's over with, or damn near's over with. I don't know. Because it could make sense, but then it couldn't make sense. Because he's talking about information is what makes a player. I understand that. I really do. But I need more. I need more.
Possible without overwhelming. And
I'm overwhelmed right now. I'm not gonna lie. This is unbelievable. I'm so excited for this. What would you say was the most important thing for you to get right when it came to scouting?
Obviously, the information itself, what we're giving you and how we're giving it to you, was really important. But the loop of what are the reveal milestones, what are your action points, right? When do you need to engage with this system, and can you engage with it when you don't need to? So for me, I staggered it throughout the season because I wanted to make sure that there was information relevant for you as a player at each stage of the season. And then the postseason hits, and you can focus on your playoff games. You don't have to worry about scouting at all. Off-season comes back around, boom, it hits you back up again, and that's when you really start diving in. You get the combine, the pro days, the private workouts. So making sure that you have something to do at all the relevant points, especially when the season lulls, and making sure that it stays out of your way when it doesn't need to be there. But you can always go in and look. That scouting tab will never disappear.
Now, I also have a question about this. He said the pro days, workouts, and all that. Will we get to watch those pro days, or will it just be like a simulated process? And then if we do get to watch it, are we going to control them, or will it be AI control? would they control themselves based on their attributes and things? You know, as if watching computer versus computer play. You know, so I think that'd be pretty cool if we got to watch them work out, as opposed to it being a simulation workout. But he answered my question. He said it's going to be throughout the season. Then in the postseason, if you're in playoffs, apparently you're going to have to worry about it. But once the season over, it pops back up. I don't know. Because there's information you're missing out on the player that you want. But I get it. But I don't know. It's on the fence. On the fence.
First of all, my favorite thing is these guys work on the game and they are locked into this discussion. These guys know about, like, I'm locked in because I didn't know. These guys are listening on the edge of their seats. Is there something built into the game that's going to prevent me from signing all the best scouts and turning the Cleveland Browns into the dynasty that they truly deserve to be? Don't tell me otherwise.
I describe it as there are tiers to your scouting department that you need to fill. So rather than it being, I have a certain amount of points, or I'm just going to sign all the best scouts, you have, let's say, 3 tiers. And that really modifies how much additional bonus you get when scouting a position of expertise. So it's really not that you're picking the best scouts, you're picking the scouts that are most logical for you. But they have 2 positions of expertise. And that's going to be a little bit of a teaser for something that we're going to be dropping in the future, but it's going to be there. And the second one is grayed out. You'll be able to access that at some point post-launch, but we're not going to get too much into that. So you're picking your scouts.
That was the ultimate tease right there. It's something that's coming out, something later of teasing. Yeah.
So, but the idea is that that expertise is really what's driving you.
Well, we know Andre, he's like me. He's a hardcore franchise player. I'm curious from you guys, do you guys feel like there's something applicable here in scouting to the casual fan? Is this something that's valuable to somebody just picking up trying to win a Super Bowl?
So the casual fan, when we asked them, said, well, what do you want out of franchise? Well, I want to win Super Bowls. And so how do you win Super Bowls? You build your roster up over years. So how do you build your roster? You add players. Scouting needs to be really powerful and accessible in terms of I can make my franchise better each year.
Like we said earlier, we'll kind of monitor and see how players use it. And if we see some of those casual players going in, then we're doing something right. And if not, then we can continue to iterate on the design. We I think, almost kind of designed it for our core franchise player first, because that's who we're hearing loud and clear from. You're welcome. But, of course, we do want those other casual players that still want to build a roster in the way that they want to build it to use it. And so we monitor and iterate long term.
My game loop in franchise is much more go in, make a couple decisions, play the game. And scouting in right now feels like, well, it even warns me, like, if I don't go spend those points, they're lost.
They're lost, yeah.
So I feel like, okay,
gotta go in,
I got to do that, even though it's a little bit nebulous to me what's happening. I still have to do it, or I'm losing power. And the one thing I don't want to do is lose power, because I feel like I'm just that much further from winning those Super Bowls.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the other considerations that we had, where if you choose not to interact with the system, it'll essentially autopilot for you, and it'll treat it like the computer is doing it, rather than costing you for not interacting with it.
What you'll take a pass on is that granular control, like you'll bending your scouting department towards a certain need.
If you just like building a roster and just going through season after season, you can still get that as long as you spend just a little bit of time right at the front, right? It's not like it's week 3 anymore. It is preseason week 1 that you're jumping into scouting for the first time.
You get it right away as opposed to having to wait for that.
Yeah, and your touch point literally is assigning which...
So, from this segment, what I'm getting is, if you're just casual, the game will do it for you. You just have to do the minimum to keep it up.
Region. You don't have it. Your scouts will go out and do their thing immediately. You don't have to pick a single player. All you need to do is evaluate the big board, see a mock draft, say where you want them to go, and then let them go for the entire preseason. You could skip the preseason, and you're not going to miss a thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious, I feel like this is the value of sitting down with you guys and talking with you in the Spotlight series, is being able to talk with the guys who make the game. And I think the biggest thing I think that is important to convey is why. And I guess my question is, why have you guys made such a focus on servicing franchise post-launch and making it a live service?
Gamers are 12-month-a-year gamers now. It's in the past, it would be I'd pick up Madden and play it for a couple months around launch. And if you're really hardcore, you might play it longer. But now that's not the expectation anymore. And we hold ourselves to a standard of we want it to be something that you'll do, a good chunk of the year and have it be interesting and fresh. We've already been doing it for years.
Now, if they held themselves to a standard, why did it take for a Madden franchise to be trending on Twitter for them to do something? And then it even took longer for them to actually implement it to the game. Like, this is what I'm talking about. They be half-assing, like, and it's crazy. Because they know, man said, it used to be, you play it for a couple of months. Now it's a 12-month game. 12 months is a year, right? So that means we actually playing it for a whole year now. That's crazy. And now they want to implement. It's great because franchise has been around longer than MUT, but MUT gets yearly updates, and they just now started to implement live updates into franchise mode. That's wild.
Years inside Madden but it's primarily been through Ultimate Team. So really, it's laddering franchise up to that same sort of standard. Knowing that that's not the easiest thing in the world to do, because Ultimate Team was built to be good at that, and franchise was built to be good at providing a season in a sandbox.
And it is a different live service than Ultimate Team.
Yeah.
Right? Ultimate Team, you have messaging every week, almost daily. So you're going to miss some of that day-to-day messaging that I know that some people have been clamoring for, but that's just kind of the nature of the mode. It is such a large sandbox that it's just not as modular on a day-to-day basis, but it can be modular, and we're really emphasizing that on a yearly basis.
Ultimate Team actually absorbs new content and standout performances.
Yeah.
And it just gets added into what you've already built there. Franchise is not like that. I already have a story that's in progress.
Yeah.
So maybe we would add a scenario to the season engine that says, Tom Brady suddenly actually is still good. So
let's not go outside the realm of reality.
It pains me. I didn't know I was walking into this today, right? After watching my Packers.
There's one person here that's really happy about.
That's another thing about scenarios. How would they implement this year? Them being the scout updates, will there be scenarios for the scouts? Also, would there be more scenarios for owners now? Since they got all these, because the only scenario you really had for owners was just, I guess when they want to become X Factor stars and all that, coaches got all kinds of scenarios. Owners really didn't get none, so.
I know. You know who the EP
I wonder who designed this.
But we would bring that in via additional storytelling. Add to the story you already have. And in Ultimate Team, it's just oh no, there's just a cool new player that had a breakout thing, and I want to add that to my sandbox.
It's
just
almost
a little bit
replace
different.
it, right?
Yeah.
Which you can't do. You don't want to overwrite everything you did. If we modified Tom Brady because he had a great week in season, and you're in year 6, and he's now 55 years old, and he's.
If I'm the Bucs owner, I want Tom Brady to be really good. The only person who wants is the one who has that player. Now, I think I can ask this. Is there anything you can tease that's coming to franchise?
You can ask.
I'm asking. I am.
There are things we're thinking about for sure. We put a lot of energy towards resetting the baseline in terms of the feature set with. Franchise staff and the weekly strategy. Where we haven't put as much energy yet is maybe in terms of free agents and things like that. So that's an area that we think about and talk about is trades and whatnot. Is there something
What they need to work on is putting morales back into the games, where players get upset about contracts, trading away star players and other players like friends and stuff. They not getting enough time. They start going down like 2K does. 2K, they'll hold press conferences and stuff and things like that when players feel like they're not getting paid, not getting no playing time, or they're disgruntled. There should be contract holdouts, all that. Like if a star player gets hurt, there needs to be headline news that the whole league knows about. That's what I'm talking about. If you're going to be simulation, you have to go all out simulation. That needs to be implemented into the game. Do you know how big that would be? And then next gen consoles are able to do all that. There's no excuse for anything anymore. Do it.
we can do there.
Yeah. What is the relevant information at different points in the year that we can raise to you to make you care about not just your team, but kind of expand you out of that bubble that is kind of described of your team-centric franchise.
Yeah.
Give you that.
Make the league have life as opposed to my team have life. Like, make the league have history. It goes back to, we want it to be your story.
Yep.
And for it to be your story, the league has to be a big character in there, and the other teams and the other people in a multiplayer league have to be part of that story. The hub is the most complex screen Madden's ever had, just with the amount of information that it brings to you all at once.
Yep.
So we've spent a lot of...
I ain't gonna play it. That hub look like a bunch of jumbled stuff right there, congested, and they stole that from NHL. But continue.
Energy on it, and we'll continue to spend energy on it. Like, how can we make your franchise more usable, more powerful, and more able to tell that story is a big part of it. So
I would just add, everything's on the table. You know, that's the good news. As we said earlier, we're listening to the community. We want to hear feedback as we get into the launch of the season. I think we've delivered 2 of the top 3 most requested features in staff management and scouting. You know, so there's some others out there, and we'll hear more as we go into the launch window, and we'll figure it out together.
Yep.
Now see how you made that look. This the look of yeah, we're doing it. We're listening. Yeah.
Yep, it's the summer. We still have time.
Yeah. We might even let you to come back in the fall again to talk about features
thanks.
for next time.
I think the question that everybody is wondering is, have you guys talked about what you're going to call Madden 2025? Because you've already used the Madden 25 thing. Has that discussion happened?
Well, we're going to talk to the community about that one.
Okay, good community feedback.
I'm sure there will be suggestions.
Well, gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure talking about Madden franchise mode. I can't wait, and I hope the people at home are as excited as I am. And thank you for joining us today for this exciting look at Madden NFL 22 franchise and what's to come this year with scouting. Make sure you stay up to date to the Making Madden podcast, where you'll learn about upcoming franchise features coming this Madden season. More will come from the EA Play Live Spotlight series in the next few days. You can also follow @EA on Twitter or go to EA.com for the latest updates. And don't forget, EA Play Live is July 22nd.
Well, people, that's the video, and I must say I was not impressed at all. I really wasn't. Look at this, hypermotion. This gonna be in Madden in the following years to come. But if we know Madden, it's not gonna be good. It's good in other games. I mean, why are we still using the Frostbite engine when that's not even supposed to be the engine a sports game supposed to be played on? But anyway, I'm out of here. Batman. Make sure if you like what you see, hit that subscribe and like button for me, players. Peace.